Welcome to Podcast by TechNation. This is a series of podcasts focused specifically on the biomedical and HTM industry. Episodes are added monthly. Listening to each episode is eligible for one continuing education credit from the ACI. At the conclusion of this episode, you will be able to access a link that will take you to a quick survey. You'll be able to download your certificate once you submit the survey. Before we begin today's podcast, I'd like to invite you to save the dates for our upcoming MD Expo in Atlanta this April 2022. Please visit mdexposhow.com for details, registration, and our steps to a safe and clean meeting environment. Podcast by TechNation would like to thank our sponsor, Monty Medical Systems. When you're in the business of protecting the health of patients, you don't have time for malfunctioning medical equipment or dull surgical instruments. You need a reliable partner that can provide expert repair and planned maintenance to ensure you have patient-ready equipment that exceeds OEM guidelines and regulatory requirements. For more information, visit multimedicalsystems.com. In this episode, we are joined by Monty Gonzales, CBET President, and Chyrill Sandrini, Director of Surgical Services of BioMedical Solutions and Marketing. Monty and Chyrill, you may begin whenever you are ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HTM Insider. I'm Chyrill with Multi Medical Systems, and I'm your host today. And we are joined by Richard Monty Gonzales of CBET Biomed School there in Texas. And we're really excited to have him on because we're going to change gears a little bit today. I know we've been talking about some pretty hot topics of right to repair and a few other things, but we want to, take a step back because I'm getting a lot of questions, Monty, about what is a BMET and how do you become a BMET? So before we get started there, let's talk about what has been your expertise. Give us a little bit about your background. Introduce yourself to our viewers and our listeners.
I've actually only been in the industry for about 4 years. I'm a retired Army warrant officer. And once I left the military, got into education and kind of somehow worked my way into the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology. This is just such a fascinating field and interesting endeavor to be a part of, especially in this day and age. So, in terms of biomed background and experience, it's I probably don't enter into the career field in a traditional way.
Why don't you talk about what CBET is? Because we do use that acronym.
Yep.
And for certification, but it's actually a school. And I will tell our viewers and listeners, my daughter is a proud graduate of CBET. So tell us what CBET is.
Yeah, so the College of Biomedical Equipment Technology has existed for about 15 years. We started off as something else and went through many changes over the years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, the current ownership structure, we came in, took over, sort of reinvented, reimagined, and took a new look at what the college could be. And our mission really is serving the healthcare technology management industry. And we do that by offering a certificate and an associate degree program for biomedical equipment technicians. We're unique in the approach that we take. We're not a traditional school. Our programs currently are online programs. The IDL format, it can be a bit of a challenge. It is harder in many respects, managing, running, and doing a good job running an online type of a school for a highly technical career field. So CBET as a college is very unique in that way, but it's also what's made us really the largest producer of biomeds in the country, second only to the military schoolhouse at Fort Sam here in San Antonio. We offer certificate programs that are 6 months in length, 24 credit hours. We have an associate degree program that's an accelerated program that can be achieved in 15 months. And we're also doing some other things too. In January, we're launching the Imaging Academy. We're going to be offering, I believe, 21 different courses in imaging. And those courses will be online, hybrid, and at fixed site facilities in Las Vegas and in Georgia.
Hey, exciting stuff on the horizon.
Definitely.
So, let's say I'm looking for a new career field, or I'm just getting out of high school. What requirements are needed to apply for admission to CBET?
The admissions process is pretty basic. The one sort of admonition that I would share is that if you're a young, talented individual interested in working in the career field, I would steer you away from just the certificate program, because we feel like the requirements of the biomed in today's world are growing increasingly technical and increasingly demanding. And we really like to see the younger students, engage in the full degree program to get that full experience and as much education as possible. There are a handful, your daughter included, younger lady, who's done quite well and gone to work at fantastic companies like Banner Health. And there's some really good opportunities out there. But in terms of requirements to get into the school, if you're motivated, hungry to work in the industry, good people skills, you're a good communicator, technically savvy. If you know a little bit about IT or have an interest in it, that always helps. But we basically have the same requirements as any other college or university out there. Graduate of high school, 18 years old, and hungry to go work in a professional career field that really services an ambitious, intelligent, motivated individual that wants to excel. It's a fantastic career path.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the attrition rate and why this is such a hot career field right now. That's a big issue in this industry right now.
It is, definitely. I think there's several factors converging that are leading to a lot of the upheaval that we're seeing, both in healthcare and in education. One of the, you don't have to look far to see the effects of COVID-19. Okay. And if we look at the short term, as I like to say, the 25-meter target is the fact that COVID-19 is affecting all of us. Had a conversation with a colleague of ours, this individual as well recently. And we talked about the impact that the organization's mandate for vaccinations was going to have on his HTM workforce. And from that, he's predicting 10 to 20% decline in his staff. That's the 25-meter target. When we look at the other pressures and demands in the healthcare industry, specifically affecting biomeds, it's no secret that the workforce is aging, and that a new generation of motivated, talented professionals is necessary. It's urgent. So that's kind of the short-term and long-term look at the industry and how it's reshaping and why we're in such a high demand. But also, that sort of upheaval and chaos is just wonderful opportunity for somebody that's motivated to get into this. And I should say also, there's one other type of entry student into our programs that is certainly worth noting. And that's the people like you and me that had professional careers in other areas, who navigated into this industry and discovered this. I didn't even know what a biomed was 5 years ago, who has realized the significant role and place that they hold in the industry, and what a wonderful way to give back and contribute and have a life of service. It's really meaningful.
I think it's a great time to get in. It'll be interesting to see where our young generation, the 21, 22, 23-year-olds are going to be in 5 years, right? I'll tell you a funny story. When I was started in this industry, I started on the business side of the industry. And when I was told that we were going to be involved in biomed, I thought, I am not handling hazardous waste. So let's clear up what a biomed actually is. There's no hazardous waste involved. What does a biomed do day to day, and where do they work at?
One of our star instructors here at the schoolhouse is Christian Bond. And Christian is just a unique individual with a fantastic reputation. He's a retired Air Force guy. He worked at the schoolhouse at Fort Sam in his last assignment in the Air Force. And when we hired Christian through the SkillBridge program recently, I asked Christian, I said, okay, Christian, in your words, tell me what a biomed is. And he said, that's easy. A biomed is a solution architect.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yep, I love the description.
I love
And
that.
yeah, he said we're problem solvers, we're solution architects. And it's interesting because it's sort of a loaded question in terms of what does a biomed do? A biomed can work in a healthcare delivery organization, in a hospital as part of an HTM team, servicing upwards of 700, 800 pieces of equipment, medical devices ranging from beds to you name it, much more sophisticated networked medical devices, to an individual working in a warehouse at a manufacturer, refurbishing equipment, to a technician on a flyaway team like MMS has, servicing multiple contracts in multiple locations across the country. The range of possible career paths and trajectories that an individual can take are just really there's so many different opportunities. Not to mention, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, it is just a wide open market to start your own business. If you're looking at some of these other premier ISOs that are out there and you're like, I think I can do that myself, take a stab at it. We have quite a few of our graduates that actually go out and start their own little companies, and we watch them grow through the years, and just really impressive, and they carve out niches.
Yeah, I think that's great, is you can find your niche, what really, excites you, whether, it's the big iron, like the MRIs, to ventilators, anesthesia, the specialty devices, or maybe you're that field service technician that loves going, urgent care center to, portable EDs, doctor's offices, surgery centers, endoscopy centers, and just be on the road. And like you said, or travel or work for somebody like us that, we have on-demand techs that fly all over.
Yeah.
Your travel's paid for. There's so many opportunities. I know we talked about Amy, and Danielle is a great reference. And, there's schools like yourself, but, we're going to be attending TechNation MD Expo coming up, which do you encourage students to attend these conferences and get more involved in the local chapters? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I've always thought that mentors don't find you, you find your mentors, but you're not going to find them unless you're looking in the right places. And you mentioned a couple of them. Amy's a fantastic organization. I think they've done more for standardization nationally than any other organization, truthfully. Just did a wonderful job. MD Expo, completely agree. I love the team there. They work passionately and unwaveringly for the industry. They provide so much value to it. And just a wonderful little team. They work on the job side as well. Their HTM jobs team is working as hard as they can to put people to work, connecting with companies like yours and others out there. But the other sources that you alluded to, really kind of like to focus in on the one that the associations, the biomed associations, and HTM organizations and whatnot that are out there. There's some fantastic work being done. CABMET recently had their annual conference up in Denver, Colorado. Wonderful organization, dedicated to the industry, giving back. Literally wrote wrote the requirements for the prep course for the certification for BMET certification, heavily involved in the CAP-T certification development, just entrenched in things that are going on in the industry, and they have their ear to the ground listening for what's happening, and then they're focused and they're giving back. Same thing in Arizona. I was really happy to see that Perry Kerwin and his team out there was able to sort of revitalize and get the Arizona HTM Society going again. But there's other societies out there doing equally good work. In Florida, there's the Central Florida BioMedical Society, doing fantastic work. There's up in Wisconsin, so many different organizations. I'm running a blank on all the names. California's got the biggest, society out there doing great work. So there's just so many ways to get involved and find a mentor. We encourage the students to graduate from our programs, figure out where you want to go, where you want to be, and reach out to the societies that are nearest there and connect with those people, because the people that gravitate towards those sort of endeavors and organizations, they're there because they want to give back. If you were to graduate from a college and say, where should I turn to first? Find a willing mentor that's where you want to be, connect with that person and get some wind behind your sail, so that you can launch your career.
That's where a lot of internships and apprenticeship opportunities. And so our listeners know that there are a lot of apprenticeship opportunities that are paid once you get out of school. So you're not going to go work for free and try to work another full-time job, to pay the bills. But there are those opportunities that are becoming more prevalent because the need is growing for biomeds.
Yeah, the apprenticeship program, since you mentioned it, it is really worth exploring. It may not be for everybody, but it's definitely for somebody. The Amy sponsored apprenticeship program. It's a 2-year apprenticeship program, and it's good for companies. It's good for the industry, and it's good for students. So if you're a young, hungry, motivated individual and you want to get into a new career field, but maybe the traditional college path is not for you, or maybe, for whatever set of circumstances you're ready to go to work today and not spend the time in the school, there's a handful of companies, I think there's 7 or 8 that are already approved apprenticeship providers that will work with you, put you to work, pay you while you learn, and then you accumulate the educational components while you go. Fantastic opportunity. Again, Danielle sort of spearheaded that from Amy, but it's definitely worth checking out. And I think companies should gravitate towards that and support that effort. It's good for the industry.
I agree. It's great. Now let's talk about the one thing that I think is kind of confusing, and I've gotten this question a few times. How do I learn to work on medical equipment virtually? Right?
So much of what we are doing in this industry now is so far beyond the traditional mechanical types of manifestation of what a biomed used to be. We used to think of a biomed turning wrenches, turning screws, taking things apart, putting them back together. A tremendous amount of what a biomed does now doesn't even have to do with that. It has to do with management pieces. It has to do with IT pieces, cybersecurity, information systems. A tremendous amount of that stuff can be taught online quite effectively. The parts that are not able to be taught as effectively, that do demand a hands-on experiential approach, within our school are being supplemented in different ways. We are working on virtual reality curriculum and content development to integrate into our programs. As an example, we're working on med-rat injectors, and that's going to be a virtual reality. In fact, we're going to demo that in Las Vegas here in a few weeks when I see you. That's, that sort of stuff can be turned into virtual reality content that would allow a student to engage, demonstrate mastery, and the research indicates that a student that engages in that way actually learns better than a student who gets a hands-on experience. And there's a number of reasons for that. And one of them is opportunity to repeat the training. When a student can go in that virtual environment and repeat those tasks until they master it, that's sort of a different approach and level of education that a student can take out of that. The other piece, and this is even more critical and more important, and this is probably the most vital piece of what I would like to share about our college and how we work in the industry. Our success as an educational institution in the healthcare field rests almost entirely on the relationships of trust that we have with our industry partners. So we provide the very best curriculum we can. We have the best instructional staff we can hire. We put everything into our curriculum and content. We reinvest into that. The virtual reality development is probably the best indicator. But at the end of the day, our ability to take a student and place them with a company that has a fantastic reputation in the industry, that is the hallmark of our success. So when a young lady like yourself says, "Hey, my daughter went to your school and she got a job," we've done it. And so, but that doesn't happen overnight. You have to build that trust with that organization. It's funny, I have conversations with companies sometimes, and they ask that very question: how can you teach that? Well, we can only do so much. And then we're going to turn to our industry partners and ask them to work with us. So our industry partners, we've created a 6-week hands-on experiential component of our programs. And when a student graduates our program, and we've given them everything we can, the best instruction we can provide, the best curriculum, virtual reality content, everything, all the tools and resources we can provide them. At the end of that path, we're going to turn to our industry partner and say, okay, we need your support for 6 weeks to do a right seat ride with this student. And here's a checklist of things we would like you to work with that student on for a 6-week period. Evaluate them, engage with them, provide us the feedback, let us know what we're doing well, what we're doing poorly, so that we can make those changes to our programming. And then at the end of that 6 weeks, the employer has the opportunity to hire that individual. We've had an extremely high success rate doing that.
That's awesome. I was really impressed with the anatomy component in the educational process, because BMETs do, have a lot of effect on inpatient care. And I've never met a BMET that doesn't care about the patient. It's not about the equipment, it's about the patient experience, right? Patient safety is paramount in this industry. And I really think that's a great attribute that your school is providing in that anatomy portion that I was able to witness firsthand.
Oh, I appreciate that. And it's interesting that you point that out. Our anatomy and physiology instructor, her name is Lupe McKnight. She's a wonderful lady. I've known her for about 15 years. And we regularly get feedback from our students indicating that they learned a tremendous amount in that class. We want our graduates to leave this school and go to the work in the healthcare industry knowing exactly what you said, that patients are first, safety is first, and that they're saving lives through their work. They're not just going there to calibrate equipment, maintain PMs, maintain a database. That's all important, but all it does is serves the main purpose, which is helping physicians and clinicians and the healthcare staff at the facility to save lives.
Yeah, I really see the HTM industry as some of the unsung heroes of the hospital and healthcare industry.
They are, yeah, they're the front line. I mean, if you think about the number of pieces of medical equipment and medical devices in facilities, and it only takes one piece of the chain to break and the system stops. One of the areas that we're really focused on in terms of our programming and our content is what we call the space between the wall and the device. That's really kind of where we're focusing our biomed training and our curriculum, so that the next generation of technicians graduate well-versed in that area, and they show up at healthcare facilities with a robust understanding of what those requirements are, so that they organically and inherently understand information technology, information security, cybersecurity, medical device integration. There's so much going on there that the investment of the industry and educational institutions, not just ours, but the others out there doing the same training, that's an investment worth making. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, things have changed. That, shoot, you and I can remember when the first microwave came about, let alone when the first remote control for a TV came out. And now look at us. Everything's wireless. And cybersecurity is a real threat to hospitals and patient safety.
Yes, it is. And we have looked at numerous case studies, including, actual patient death as a result of cybersecurity, risk and an attack, a cyber attack. So it's a very real component of what biomeds are involved in. Understanding software, understanding versions, understanding update requirements. You cannot just take for granted or be complacent about who's responsible for that. Organizationally, there are very few HDOs that are structured in the same way. It's always interesting to look at different structural components. Some biomed departments fall under IT. Some HTM departments are running parallel to their IT departments and have no communication. But those dynamics are important. The organizational relationships are important. And all we can do as an educational institution is ensure that the graduates leaving our program understand that.
Yeah, we have Nutter Hamoud coming on as a guest, which he's a bit advocate between IT and biomed and how to work together as a team. So we're all on the same team. It's all focus on patient care, right?
Yep.
So I've got to tell you, Callie did her first PM yesterday with her trainer. She was so excited. She was on cloud 9, told me all about it. I mean, couldn't stop talking about it. So that was exciting for me. But we're going to wrap this up. And what I like to do is end every segment with your wow word, which is your word of wisdom. If you could put it in one word or a couple words, what is a BMET and why should you become a BMET? Just give us something to hang on to.
So I'll go back to the first thing that I said when you asked me what is a biomed. A biomed is a solution architect, and the problem is changing rapidly. To be a successful biomed in today's healthcare industry, you have to think in terms of revolution, not evolution, because things are moving so quickly that it's difficult to keep up. So that's a few more words than you probably expected, but that's where I would leave this conversation. Rapid change, expect it, be agile, nimble, and go back to what you said was, your job is taking care of patients.
Yep, 100%.
Thank you, Monty and Chyrill, for a great presentation. If you enjoyed today's episode, you might enjoy our ongoing webinar series, Webinar Wednesday. You can find a calendar of upcoming live webinars as well as an archive of on-demand webinars at WebinarWednesday.live. To obtain your certificate for 1 CE credit from the ACI, please remember to click the link located below this podcast title to complete today's survey. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com.